Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good night. Welcome to our session on designing service-oriented chatbots to improve customer experience. My name is Dr. Gözde Türktarhan, and I'm a visiting scholar at the Muma College of Business, University of South Florida, and I am one of the conference research chairs at GLOSERV conference. Today, I have the honor to be moderate to this session, and it is with Ms. Jonilda Bahja. Welcome, dear Jonilda.
Hello, Dr. Turkaran. Thank you so much for having me on the conference. Very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here with us. Thank you so much. I would like to introduce you to our participants before we start. Ms. Jonilda Bahja is working on her PhD in Business Information Technology at Virginia Tech. She holds master's degrees in computer engineering from Epoka University, data analysis and applied statistics from Virginia Tech, and hospitality management from University of South Florida. Her education background and industry experience in user experience, design, and assessment in services developed her interest on studying conversational AI chatbots in service industry and enhance customer experience. She has been teaching several courses over the scope of 10 years and enjoys sharing her knowledge and empowering young generations. Her passion is also reflected on the fellowship she holds with Virginia Tech Graduate Academy for Teaching Excellence. In addition to the main duties, Jonilda sits in the advisory board of Hospitality Industry Technology Exposition and Conference 2021. Dear Jonilda, welcome again. It's great to have you.
Well, thank you so much. You make me blush by all the intro. Thank you.
You're welcome. After your presentation, I will come back for the questions. Now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me, to you, Dr. Jihan. It's such a great pleasure to be back to USF. It's close and dear to my heart. I graduated there a few years ago. I would like to share my screen now so I can as well share some part of my experience and my knowledge with all of you. I am pretty interested on the big domain of conversational agent, artificial agent, AI in general. And today I would like to talk about how actually we can think through designing a service-oriented chatbot in service industries so that we can have a better customer interaction with a chatbot and therefore a better customer experience. A little bit about me. I think Dr. Gözde made such a big introduction, so there is not much left to talk about, but I have been in this kind of research area for more than 3 years now. And again, I'm focusing on humanizing design of the chatbots through mainly using the theory of social presence. Today, I'll be covering a few topics. And by the end of the presentation, I think you'll have a good idea, hopefully, in terms of what actually is a chatbot. You might heard this term come across many times, but I'll give you a broad definition in terms of what is in practice and what's therefore in academia. So you'll have a better idea about it. And how actually can businesses use chatbots and why they are so interested in using chatbots. What are some of good examples of chatbots in business? And when we want to go for designing a chatbot, what would be some checks or guidelines that we should keep in our mind before we even go into this field? And what would be some of the costs of actually designing a chatbot for your business? What actually is a chatbot? In very simple words, it's a computer program, but in a broader definition, it's actually a computer program that plays around with human-like design features that provide services to users on a computer environment. They use two forms of communication. It's a one-on-one communication. It would be text-to-text or text-to-speech or speech-to-speech. Those are all forms of different interaction that we can have from the chatbot to the customers. So this kind of environment, one-on-one, provides actually this kind of technology, which helps customers to feel more like friendly, because especially with the younger generation growing up with technology, they like texting quite a lot. So this kind of technology comes really handy. But in a simple definition, chatbots actually are computer algorithms that automate different responses behind the business to actually help the business and the customers to acquire the answer that they're looking for. Chatbots have been around for quite a while. They have a very long journey, even though we might have heard of them last 5 years because of booming of technology and AI. But they have been around since 1960s. Actually, it all started with 1950 with Turing test. And that's where all this idea of pretending that different technologies looks like human, but actually those are technologies. So if you could pass the test of deceiving people, thinking that it's a human agent behind conversing with you, that would be pretty much at that point successful. The first chatbot that we can go back to is called Eliza, and it's usually using natural language processing. It's created in 1964, 1966 in MIT lab by Joseph Weizenbaum. There is a need for this kind of chatbot at that time, and the reason for that is there was a psychiatrist that had a clinic, and he had patient that had crisis, and there was no way for him or his staff to provide 24/7 service to the patients. So there were a lot of patients that had worries, anxieties, and really wanted to chat all the time. So he had this idea of how we can create some sort of technology that can be there for the customers or the patients in this case, and make them feel heard, make them feel emotionally they are present, and without having the human agent behind it. Initially, patients thought that there was the staff from the clinic or the therapist itself actually responding to them. And that was such a huge success because they passed the Turing test in that regard. But over the time, that was not the case. And the things changed, of course. And we'll talk later on how actually it's so important to disclose that kind of information to consumers. But at that time, this was such a big start point for chatbots in general. And you would see throughout the history, there have been some other attempts in 1972, 83, 95, 2005. But really, there was not much out there until 2007. And I'm saying 2007 because this is such a cutoff point, actually, for big data, AI, algorithm performance, because of that is also the time where social media data started booming, where first iPhone came out, where people would constantly share information. It became so easy, actually, to stay on your phone and share information. So having big amount of data, it would automatically help you train or test the algorithm better. So the performance of the algorithm behind AI started getting better because of the amount of data. Training, testing on the data, they become smarter and smarter, better and better, learning from our data, learning from our behaviors, being able to provide even more accurate and more smart answers. So from 2007 and now on, this kind of field has been booming. And the last 10 years in the research especially, there is a lot of research about chatbots that it's out there. However, just because of the history, it's more than a decade, there is a diverse names that exist about chatbots. So what actually are chatbots? If you see throughout the years that there were different names about chatbots, first they started embodied agent, which really it's not the right definition. Automated assistant, it can be one, conversational agent, computer interface agent, end-to-end conversation model, virtual assistant, human appearing, behaving virtual agent, avatar, end-to-end task completion dialogue system. So there's such a variety of names. But I think the most interesting one is software robots. Probably it might be surprising to you, but actually chatbots are software robots. They perform pretty much the same task. Beside the physical component, they might not be able to carry things physically for you, but they can complete a lot of other tasks, just as a robot would do. It doesn't matter if it's a mechanical or a social one. They have the virtual part of it, so the algorithms are the same. They run on the background. And because of that, a lot of literature in human-robot interaction that talks about making this kind of technology anthropomorphizing, like more human-like. It's also kind of like being seen in chatbot research. Another interesting name about chatbot is conversational AI, and this has started being used more in the last 2-3 years, also by developers in the industry. And the reason for that is because of the intelligence of the algorithm behind it and sophistication of the architecture of a chatbot. And also it's a much broader umbrella. And this embodied conversation agent is also another term, not really embodied because we don't have a physical technology. It's not like kiosk or anything, self-service technology. So in this case, it's really like disembodied conversational agent. So those would be some of the names that exist about chatbots, beside the fact that you might have seen automated chat, you might have seen chatterbox, chatbox, but mainly they mean pretty much the same thing, some sort of algorithm that run behind a certain technology for helping you to complete certain tasks very fast, efficiently, and with high performance. Now, why service industry? Beside the fact that I have some background in service industry, it's also very dear to me because service industry involves human interaction, and I'm such a people person, and I love the industry. I have the background in hospitality, and some of the examples come from that industry. But also I provide some other examples abroad in retail, banking, healthcare, education, and so on. Service industries are very fragile. They are continuously challenged by different unexpected events, being natural. COVID happened recently. So it's like number one of the industries that get really hit because it's number one labor-driven industry. So there was a global loss of 75 million jobs during the COVID and almost $2.1 trillion loss in the revenue in the whole world. Technology has been seen before as a tool actually for resilience and recovery, but particularly AI and chatbots, especially in hospitality and tourism, have boomed. They have started to be using like 300% before COVID and after COVID. So there is like a booming of this kind of technology because it can be really helpful to not per se replace labor, but be very helpful in terms of like collaborating or working hand in hand with labor. There is the company that is one of the biggest customer automation developer companies that actually does different chatbots, and they deployed some free chatbots for hotels specifically. The main focus was COVID-19 related question and answers. During the COVID, there were a lot of customers that panicked. They didn't know if they need to cancel, they'll get refund, what will happen with their plans, and so on. So many hotels didn't even have resources, being in technology or in people, in labor, to stay 24/7 there to answer to the different questions and concerns that customers have. And also because of COVID, most of the labor was laid off. So that also was another huge need for chatbots in that regard. So chatbots designed specifically for this kind of task, like asking and answering different questions related to COVID, came very, very helpful during that time for the hotels. And other reasons are because service industry or business usually use chatbots instead of traditional customer service. And there are reasons for that. For example, according to different studies throughout the year, in 2018, it was stated that there was $48.3 million saved because of using chatbots or AI technology instead of traditional customer service. And it is predicted that in 2023, $11.5 billion will be saved by using chatbots. And so on in 2025, this goes even up by almost $8 billion more. If you see in the picture, this is actually a bibliometric analysis that I have done in one of my studies based on many papers that talk about chatbots. Most of the themes that come out, it's customer service, customer satisfaction, artificial intelligence, user experience. So clearly, anthropomorphism, clearly you can see that there is a need for this kind of technology in service industries. And also, another study stated that 80% of business operations are actually low complexity tasks. And low complexity task is the perfect environment for actually deploying chatbots because, for example, in a front desk situation, most of the question would be, how can I check in? What is the check-in time? What is going on around an event in the hotel area? Like, how can I cancel reservation? How can I modify reservation? And you'd be actually staying with the front desk employee for hours, probably on the phone, if they are busy. So you won't have a good experience as a customer. But on the other side, you are taking so much time from front desk employees. Instead of them dealing with the customers in front of them, they are wasting time with you on the phone. So this kind of technologies comes hand in hand for all the low complexity jobs. You can easily automate through the chatbot, and depends on the architecture you choose. It can be really simple pattern matching or very sophisticated. And 20% of the operations that are very complex, you can actually leave this to the people, because there won't be any way that technology will really substitute people. Like, you can't substitute the critical thinking, and we need that for problem solving. So that's why there is a need for this kind of technology actually in the service industry. And also from another study, it's seen that 55% of all Americans use or like using actually chatbot because of so many different reasons. And 65% of those are actually millennials. So reasons that can be why they prefer using chatbot is because of different functionalities. It's first of all, it's task oriented. You usually reach out to a chatbot when you have a task in mind. It's not really general or broad. So it's task oriented and can handle very simple tasks. It can personalize your experience or research. It can really offer good customer experience or enhance the experience itself. So business have a goals of engaging users more. They can even inject different emojis or humor in the conversation. They can seek for feedback after the interaction. So there is like such a rich environment. You can do so much with the customers and engage with them and have loyal customers over the time, change the brand image or improve the brand image or retain the brand image. And if you see, this kind of technology is widespread across so many service industry: hospitality, tourism, healthcare, marketing, education, sales, retail, and so much more. Some advantages of using chatbots as a summary. First, it's cost effective. Again, it's not really substituting 100% people, but definitely it's coming very helpful in terms of automizing a lot of low complexity jobs and letting people really do some complex jobs to deal with that require problem solving skill, critical thinking skills. So by time, you also become a better employee just because you challenge yourself and you learn more. So they're reducing the labor cost, and that's a good thing for the business as well. They increase the visibility of the business and increase sales. You can actually do transactions through the chatbots. For example, you can book a hotel. You can really like see the purchasing intention, push different deals. So it can also be like a marketing channel, a sales channel. Chatbots respond very fast because of everything being automized and all the algorithms that run behind. And we all know that we don't like to spend time on the phone for hours to get very simple answers that we can't really find in the website, which has frequently asked questions for like pages and pages. So in this case, most of the companies, especially frequently asked questions, they all automize through the chatbot because it's so easy. You ask whatever you need and immediately chatbot gives you the answer. Also, chatbot can provide really personalized answers, especially if you integrate with your customer database. You can really know the customer and have a history into it. Chatbot can converse in multiple languages, which is a big advantage for so many businesses that run internationally. They work 24/7. They improve customer experience over time. And also they standardize the service, because not every time you will receive the same service from the person that in the business that you are acting with, like customer service. There will be someone that is highly professional and someone that is new in the job. So you'll get a very different experience every time you reach out. So in this case, chatbots make sure that it's the same quality of experience over and over. And also they don't take day off, right? So in this case, there is no chance that you run out of not having enough labor or staff to work in the customer service area. Especially in the hospitality and tourism or in travel industry, there are so many functions actually that chatbots can do before traveling, during travel, post-travel. For example, this is also from another taxonomy study that I've worked on, analyzing almost 70 different chatbots kind of like came up with these features for the industry. So before traveling, you can personalize different recommendation. You can look for booking, flight search, different scheduling, confirmation of the reservation. You can check in. You can have different reminders, different loyalty reward programs. You can save, you can put alert, you can seek for information, baggage, like what's the baggage policy, pack bags, travel plans, what's going on in the destination, different frequently asked questions, trip updates, currency conversion. There is so much more. Like this environment is so rich. You can do so many things. As long as you are creative and technology can work with it, like you can really do a lot of things and help customers like really engage with the chatbot and answer most of their questions even before like reaching to the hotel. And when they come there, you can check them in through the chatbot. You really don't need to go to the front desk. There are so many services you can actually offer through the chatbot. Room service, you can seek room service. You can do special requests. You can put wake-up calls, connection to front desk. You can request different amenities. And if you have robots in the hotel, it's even better because robots can integrate with them and bring it in. You can do recommendation for different hotspots, restaurants in the area, do orders, room delivery, events reservation, and so on. And after all your experience is over, like traveling experience, you can still send different offers based on the customer data that you collected. You can still send surveys to get feedback how the experience was for the customer. So there is so much you can do. You can still keep in touch with the customers over the time without, of course, like not annoying them, not sending too much information, but you can still be creative and you can keep a constant communication with the customer. Different examples of chatbots, specifically in this industry. For example, Expedia bot, which is also like one of the screenshots that I put in there. They've done a pretty good job. It's the chatbot that they have deployed in ChatFuel, which is the Facebook Messenger biggest platform for deploying or developing chatbots. You can actually see different packages, different flights, different rooms, car rental, like whatever you are looking for, because they are an OTA, so they have much more options and features there. But you don't really see like a certain personality beside the logo of Expedia. It doesn't really have, just because of the amount of the service that it has, it just doesn't have a certain persona connected to it. But it gets information, you can book a flight, you can cancel, you can find best deals, you can connect with customer service or human agent. TripAdvisor bot has travel guides, reviews, flight search, hotel search, things to do. You can save different favorite spots that you liked. You also can redirect different websites for booking. Another funny chatbot, which I find it very creative, is Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas Resort. They have a chatbot named Rose. Rose has such a mischievous personality. It's a female, according to them. And usually they kind of like have deployed it only through texting. So you have to text to converse back with the Rose. But if you see from the picture, it has really like fit the personality of the hotel itself in Las Vegas. So it exhibit the resort, shows you the resort before you even come. It has different art tours. It can guide you through different art tours around the hotel or the resort. It can arrange delivery to guest rooms, can suggest places around. And if you see the introduction, it's like, hey, I'm Rosé, and text ready to get started. And then so on, you can't misbehave on an empty stomach. So tell me if you're hungry. So it's very playful personality. So it fits really the vibe of Vegas and the Cosmopolitan Las Vegas Resort. And then there is another example of Accor Hotel Bot, which allows guests to make service requests, like toiletries delivered to the room, give them wake-up call in the morning, often answer different questions that they have about amenities, and connect to the front desk as well. All of them have the option of connecting to the human agent, which is a really good strategy for service recovery as well, in case chatbots can't provide you the accurate answer, which is impossible to actually. There is no way that a chatbot will always be able to provide the accurate answer because of so much things going on, like the richness of human language that we use, the adjectives, the verbs, So because of the language you use, it gets complicated, but also depends on the designer or the developer, how much they have anticipated different scenarios and how much architecture or technology is behind it. So there are certain limitations that come with it. So in that case, you need to think of a service recovery strategy. So when you come to architecture of chatbots, pretty much it's like two groups. It used to be three, but now it's almost two, because the middle one, which was between pattern matching and really sophisticated architecture, kind of like went away, and it's really sophisticated now because of the improvement of algorithms and everything. So pattern matching, what it actually does, provides you, if you have seen, it's like rule-based. You ask a question and usually has different menu. So it provides you standard responses, but they are random, not exactly the same, but still it's standard, it's not customized. You'll see same conversation path among different customers. There is no change there, no personalization. So it's very simple. Repetitive will be pretty repetitive over time, and often you'll see different errors. Like it won't be able to constantly find you the right answers. So you can still customize some services with it, but I think this is the option of, first, the design is very easy, and you can, even you as a person with different, like drag and drop menu, can actually design your own chatbot. And also it's cheap in terms of the cost. So that's why some small businesses that don't have the resources usually go with this option. So if you see, for example, a messenger bot, it's like, hello, I'm a support chatbot. I take to answer hundreds of tech support questions. How can I help you today? So everything, it's like matched. Like you ask something, chatbot replies to something or gives you a menu as an option. So you can't really use the fluent natural language as a human being to actually interact with the chatbot. And the other architecture is AI-driven chatbot. The other architecture is very dynamic, has answers based on the context, which is actually the business that you are running. For example, if you are a restaurant, probably the conversation with customers in terms of food orders might be very different than if you are a banking system. So it counts for context because of the amount of data it has. And also data is key. The amount of data that has trained the chatbot depends on the industry the data is from, because sometimes if the context of the data does not match really with your business, probably the chatbot will not be able to actually provide the most accurate answer, no matter how much money you have invested on it to actually make it sophisticated. So these are some of the things you kind of like think and account for. You can do a lot of personalization in this context. And also you can predict as well a lot of answer based on the natural language processing, machine learning that it's used in this kind of chatbots. You can also do payment transactions, so you really don't need to send customers to third party, but everything happens in the chatbot environment, and you'll have much more accurate answers for sure because of technology. And again, same example, if you see it here, it's like, hello, welcome back, Joe. So it already recognizes me as I'm a previous customer. I see you currently have an open support ticket. It even like recognizes that I already have contacted before. I have a history with the company. I have a ticket. So it kind of like makes me feel like, okay, so they know me. I don't need to repeat the same things over and over. So it's more like personalized based on me as a customer. So are you looking for help with this? And then you just kind of like start conversing from there. Main platform to build chatbots are there. There are plenty. It started with main companies, but right now it's so much. Beside the individual developers that exist, Facebook Messenger has a chat fuel platform, is one of the biggest, and I think one of the easiest as well, especially for small businesses. Even as an individual, if you have a Facebook page, but you have it set to either public figure or a business, you can create your own chatbot, which will kind of like interact with people that will write with you based on the menus that you have set up. Amazon Alexa skill set, it's for Amazon Alexa. IBM Watson is one of the biggest one for AI-driven chatbots. They're quite expensive, but they have big amounts of data, and they really can do very sophisticated things. Microsoft Azure Bot Service, Google Dialogflow, Mintsay, Hanley, all this, and there's so much more out there. So all this platform can help you actually build chatbots on their platform and deploy into the places that you want to. For example, your website, if it's a business, your social media, and not only like Twitter or not only like Facebook. You can deploy in Slack, you can deploy in LinkedIn, you can deploy in WhatsApp, in WeChat, any platform you can think on, text messages. So you can use this kind of platform to build and then deploy wherever you want. And again, like based on the team that work on it, or if you have individual developers, like the fee will vary. Like I'll give some estimated prices at the end, but just to give like a heads up. If you want to, like, I probably show a quick video actually how you can easily set up a Facebook Messenger bot, but probably a little bit later, because I want to go through some other information, and then at the end I'll go through the video. When we talk about design of chatbot, there is this architecture, functionality side, data-driven that we don't see as a customer, but then we as a customer, we see the interface. So the interface is quite important as well in the interaction, and we all know it. For example, the reason why it's important is because of many theories that actually exist in this field. First theory, it's computers as social actors. This kind of theory somehow tells that humans perceive technology as social actors, as other humans. Therefore, they behave in a certain way of they are interacting with other people. So they have the same expectations of the human-to-human interaction in an online environment. So that's what this theory brings in the design of chatbot. And then communication accommodation theories like points out that whenever you're interacting one-on-one, usually the conversation between two people over time happen to converge. You kind of like want to bond like each other. So the style of communication starts like merging with each other, becomes more similar, more alike. So this kind of theory comes like really in handy in terms of like when customers write certain language style, certain way to you as a chatbot. And because if you have this algorithm and you can understand from the communication, you can actually respond in a way that it's very similar to their style. So you can bond, you can converge the communication. And social presence is another theory. Social presence actually talks about how to make a technology so human and project a social presence in terms of the environment or the medium that you are talking about. And there are different features that you play around with social presence. One of those is anthropomorphism, and this is quite big in human robot literature. So there is a need actually for chatbots to solve the problems in a more human-centric manner. That's why this kind of theories are quite important in the interface of a chatbot. And this kind of research area in terms of the design, outside like interface design, it's an overlap of so many fields: communication, services, human-computer interaction, marketing, consumer research, psychology, neuroscience, information system management. The overlapping of so many fields actually brings together how the best features or the interface of a chatbot should look like. And again, like when we talked about anthropomorphism playing a role in social presence, actually this concept comes again because chatbots use social cues like psychological, language, social dynamics, social roles to convey customer social presence. And Replica is another chatbot that works more into like emotional, conversational between people that feel lonely, usually teenagers, but you have different themes, and it's quite advanced, it's open source, but is just very fascinated how they have designed it and how you can actually create your own virtual friend and talk to it through voice or through text. Erica is the chatbot of Bank of America. It's quite sophisticated. You can do so many things without really like even going through the website and find the features or even really reaching out to the customer service. And Cookie, it's another chatbot. As you see in the screen, it's the girl with turquoise hair. She's a bot designed by a developer in UK. And it's not really like AI driven. It's more like rule-based, but the language it uses is very sophisticated. Before a month or two, there was a battle all over the internet happening between two bots, which were running like loose in a sense of no one was actually controlling the language that they were using, or the conversation that was happening was very free flow. And one of the bots was the Blender bot from Chatbot from Facebook. the guy is designed by Facebook and the girl is designed by the developer in UK who won, I think, 5 times a Leibniz Prize for Turing test. So I will also put a very small video about this. Actually, I should do it now so you can have an idea what I'm talking about. Okay, I'll go to the video now. Probably just a few seconds. But
your favorite kind of music?
So
I love hip hop.
They are talking on their own. No one is
into
monitoring
dance.
them.
I like a lot of it, but I think Eminem has made it too commercial. You love hip hop. What do you like about it so much?
I like that it is different from other forms of music. It reminds me of a good time.
Thanks for the recommendation. What does it sound like?
I am not sure. I don't listen to music much. I do like Beyoncé though.
What, no music at all? That seems rather
Yeah,
strange.
so you get an idea of the battle. It was quite interesting because they kind of like went on a date on their own. They kind of like talk about parental issues. Like the conversation was so uncontrolled, and there were so many people actually interested on it. It was the first time that this was happening. When you design a chatbot, now one part of is these companies that have a budget about technology, that have so much resources that they can actually invest on designing a very sophisticated chatbot. And there are this other group of companies that probably don't have enough resources to actually design a sophisticated chatbot, but they still can use the benefits. They can do something more similar, not probably accurate most of the time, like not accurate like 100% of the time, but most of the time. So when you actually design a chatbot, there are certain things that you can keep in mind. Beside the functionalities and the technology behind it, there is also the whole interface that matters to the customers. Because beside the fact that they will get the accurate answer in terms of what you are asking as a customer, you will get an accurate answer. You really don't know what's going on in terms of the algorithm, the data behind it. But what you can see is the design. So businesses should really pay a lot of attention to the interface and the design of the interface that customer interact with. So some questions that you should consider before even like thinking that you need a chatbot for your own business. And these are come up from different papers published, different articles from the industry. They might be much more than this, but the common main ones would be, first, you should ask the question, do you really need a chatbot? Does your business or the nature of the business or the tasks that you want to do with a chatbot, again, like if they are low complexity, do you really need a chatbot for that? Or what you have right now, the resources, the technology you have right now, it's really performing what you need them to do. So that's number one. If you think that you really need a chatbot, then second, you should think, do you really know your customers? Who are your customers, group age, based on the interaction that you might have with that, what kind of data you have about them, how much you can learn about them, and what you can actually deploy through the chatbot. If they are like loyal customers, can you really personalize more the service? Then you should think where you want this chatbot to work. Do you want it on your website as a business? Do you want it on all your social media channels? Do you want it on some of your social media channels? Do you really want it only text-based through the iMessage or like message-based? Where do you want the deployment option to be? And this comes from the point of, do you know where your customers are? Like, you should serve them where they are. It should be like one-stop shop. So if you know your customers, you know from probably where they are mostly interacting with you as a business. So that should be your priority in terms of deploying the chatbot. You should also consider building a chatbot related to the brand image that you already have. Like one thing would be building a chatbot related to the brand image. And in that case, you should think, do you really want an avatar picture? Do you really want a robotic picture? Do you want just a logo? Do you want just a picture of the business itself? Like what would be the main profile picture that will interact with the customer? And if, for example, if that's an avatar picture like a human, do you really want it more like human-like or like very anthropomorphic, like real human? And then do you want it male or female? Because there's a lot of biases as well on the chatbot research because of the data that is training the algorithm. Like the data is coming from different fields. So if the data has biases already, how you are training the chatbot, it's already biases. So most of the chatbot that we see out there is, especially in the customer service, it's mainly like 80-90%, it's female. And there was another study that came out and talked about actually the gender biases issue in the chatbot context. So you should be aware of race, for example, is another component, like how do you want the chatbot to look like? You should think of all this small details, but actually could really like make a difference in terms of customer interaction. And then beside having like a brand image attached to the chatbot in terms of font style, the language style that you use, for example, if it's Ritz-Carlton, I'm sure the chatbot would have a different language style than another sort of business or hotel. So you should really like put effort into attaching a chatbot on the brand. And then is your brand like more funny? If it's like a resort, like a vacation place, probably you can use emoji. Probably you can use some jokes in the conversation when especially like you see the customer is getting frustrated because of not finding the right answer. You can actually mitigate some of those effects. And you can also build a really like a persona that looks a lot like your brand. So that's also another option. And you should have service recovery policies, as I mentioned before. Usually by now, service recovery policy is having a direct connection to the human agent, like while you interacting with a chatbot and chatbot understands that you are not being able to being served, immediately offers you the option, should I connect you to the human agent? So that should be an option and should be easily accessible. Otherwise, the customers get really frustrated. You should check for biases, as I mentioned, especially gender biases, race, ethnicity biases. Also, you should look for domain knowledge because most of the chatbots are designed by developer teams. Developer teams usually, and this again, it's another problem, usually are male gender, and most of the time they kind of like create some biases in terms of the chatbot design that they do. And the data that it's like feeding in also comes from developers, so they are not much aware of gender difference in terms of female or the context of your business. So if you have developers that create chatbots for any kind of industry and you actually are a very small, authentic restaurant, I don't believe that they will account for the context of your local authenticity restaurant. So you have to have some domain knowledge coming into that place. You still have to like be able to find a way to have some sort of touch into that conversation, because that's where most of the inaccurate answers come from. Like domain knowledge is not present and developers are quite far away from the industry that they are developing chatbots for. You should disclose chatbot identity, not really have customers being deceived and thinking that they are interacting with front desk agent or some sort of customer service human agent. You should really say that, hey, this is a chatbot of the company. It's much easier because over the conversation, also humans are quite fascinating. They learn pretty fast on how to interact with the chatbot and the language it uses, the keyword, the shortcuts. So it's also in the advantage of the business to actually disclose it, because the success rate of finding an accurate answer by the customer increases because they will use really short keywords, not really very broad, vague, rich language, so that the chatbot gets really lost. Reduce as much as you can the steps for customers. Don't really have like 10 types of interaction to really complete a task. Should be really short and to the point. Faster, easier, better for the customers. You should also think of having transaction actions happening in the environment of the chatbot, not per se sending them through the chatbot to an outside link to the website or somewhere else. And also, again, like when it comes to the chatbot interface, you should think of different features, as I mentioned before, in terms of 2D, 3D avatars, gender, male, female. If you want to use humor, if you want a different style of the conversation, if you want to use emoji, all these things. If you want to use mimicry, mimicking back the style of the conversation that customers are already using. So these are all things that needs to like be thought of. And when it comes to cost, I just pulled two different pricing in terms of Chatfuel, which is the one that you can actually design a chatbot on your own. It's a platform of Facebook Messenger. This kind of platform is very easy when you have a very simple tasks to do in terms of the chatbot, not quite sophisticated. So they have a free trial if you have only 50 users interacting with you. But if you are a business, probably you'll exceed this. So you'll go to Pro or Premium. Premium didn't have any price because it's very customized and you have to reach out to the team and talk to them. But Pro had a bunch of features and has no limit on the users. And still you can design on yourself or you can seek help from them through the Pro and Premium, but not for a free trial. It's completely on your own. And IBM Watson had also a free trial, especially for students as a template. But usually the prices start from $10,000 to develop a chatbot. And again, it's because of technology that they use, the teams that they use. It's also because of the amount of data they have to train the algorithm, and also just because of the amount of data, which might not be quite a good fit for your domain at that point, but over time, chatbot learns. So you will create your own data as a business. So another article was pointing out that usually a prototype for a small business chatbot starts around $3,000 to $5,000. And most often, software companies, especially in Silicon Valley, would really charge you between $15K to $30,000 for a custom chatbot. And those prices can go really to $40,000 to $100K, like really depends on what you want, how big your company is, what kind of services you want to do there, and so on. And I wanted to show a very quick video. I don't know if we have time for that. Dr. Guzde, do we have time for a quick video or just go to questions?
We have time, please.
Okay.
We would like to see your video.
Okay, it's a very short one. Actually, just shows through the Chatfuel, which is, again, like the easiest platform from Facebook Messenger. Like you have to have a Facebook account, usually as a business, to kind of like create your own chatbot. But it's like 3 minutes and just shows you very quick on how easy it actually is through like drag and drop to create a logic flow for a chatbot. And I'll just play this very quickly.
Now, in this case, we're going to be... Hi there, folks. Andrew here at Chatfuel, and today I'm going to show you how to build a basic bot in Chatfuel in 3 minutes or less. So let's dive in. Here we are in the Flows tab in Flow Builder, and this is where you'll spend the majority of your time in Chatfuel designing the conversation. Now, by default, you'll see this setup right here, but since we're building a very basic bot, I'm going to remove this action because we just don't need it. Now, in this case, we're going to be building a chatbot for a local restaurant. So what I'm going to do first is edit this default text, this greeting message to the user. So I'll simply type in something like, "Welcome to our restaurant. What would you like to do?" Okay, simple enough. And we'll give the user two options, two buttons to answer that question. So I'll click back on the text here and add two buttons, one for the user to see the menu and another to call the restaurant. So I'll type in here, see menu, and another for call us. Very, very simple, right? And then all that we need to do is connect these buttons to the corresponding message we want to send. So in this case, for see menu, I'll drag this connector over, add a text message, and say something like, "We serve pizza, pasta, and salad." Okay. And then for call us, we'll provide the phone number. So I'll say our phone is 123-456-7890, right? And now we're pretty much all set. All that we have left to do is connect this to our Facebook page, and we do that using something called an entry point, which is a source of traffic, a way for us to drive users into our chatbot. So I'm going to go at the very beginning of the conversation here and double click on the canvas to add an entry point. So I'll do that and choose Facebook page, which is the most basic entry point of all. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second here. And then all I need to do is click on this connector for the Get Started button, drag that to our greeting message, and we are literally all set. Just got to toggle on this switch. There we go, right? So now let's head on over into the Facebook page and show you what this looks like on the user end of things. So I'll go over to my Facebook page here, choose Send Message, click Get Started, and you'll see the automation in action. So here we go, welcome, see menu, call us. I can click on either of these options and I'll get that automated response, which is magical, right? So this is how to build a very basic bot in Chatfuel. Obviously, this is the bare bones. There's so much more you can do. If you're interested in using more advanced automation, then be sure to check out the resources in the description below or stick around until the end.
Where you can create a chatbot. And if you want to look at a deeper dive in terms of how actually Chatfuel looks like, I kind of like open up through my account. There are a lot of templates. So if you really are kind of like intimidated by the flows, logic flow that the developer was showing, you can actually choose a template that it's like already there for you. I just choose the COVID-19 assistant. So it's like everything is pretty much here. You just choose yes, no. They have put a lot of information for you. They have chatbots related to sales, customer service, hotels, like so much things that you can actually use a template that exists already out there and makes like things really easy for you. And then you can just drag and drop menus around or customize them. For example, you can even chase how fast. For example, when the 3 dots kind of like show in terms of the communication, people or customers usually feel like they're interacting with a human by default, subconsciously. So there is one of the points as well that research talks about of in terms of how fast you want to actually respond back. So you can play with all the features around, and it's like pretty easy. I have used this for one of my studies. I collected a bunch of data. It was really fun, and it was free because you can use a free trial for up to like 50 people. So yeah, and IBM Watson has a very sophisticated one. I would suggest that you kind of like, if you're interested, just have a look at it. It's pretty much a lot of coding beside the menus. So, and also it's much more expensive. Again, depends on what your priorities are in a business, what's your sizes, what products you are serving, what kind of service you want to deploy through the chatbot. You can kind of like consider different designs. And that being said, this is the end of my presentation. So I hope we can connect through social media, but I'm open to questions.
Thank you so much, dear Jonilda. I'm so impressed by your presentation and your knowledge on chatbots.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. On behalf of myself, also, I would like to thank you on behalf of our audience. And we have many questions from our audience. Now I would like to have them. You mentioned Alexa as chatbots. Isn't a voice assistant? This is our first question.
Yes, Alexa is a voice assistant. It goes under the umbrella of conversational AI, where chatbots also go under the same umbrella. The main difference is that chatbots can also do voice-to-voice, like Siri, you can talk to them. But the difference is that all this Alexa, Google, and so on, those are very broad. They don't have a narrow focus. They are not task-oriented, like you ask about the weather, about different things, while chatbots usually are very narrow focused. For example, if you go to the chatbot of Expedia, you know exactly why they're going there. It's not per se like seeking information. It's really like doing some tasks that have to do with booking or, you know, searching deals or canceling or modifying reservations. So that's the only difference. Like the goal or the task orientation, it's different on chatbots than like voice assistant. But they are all under the umbrella conversational AI. All are virtual.
Okay. Thank you so much. Another question is, can small businesses implement chatbots? Is there an out-of-the-box version that we can buy?
Yeah, they can do. I have seen a lot of businesses actually do, again, like the option of Facebook Messenger. I think just because it's like Chatfuel or Facebook Messenger is the largest platform around the world. Use it for like designing chatbot. I think part of it is also because first it serves really like small businesses much better than the bigger ones because it doesn't really do very, very sophisticated things. And it's much cheaper as an option. And I think they have quite a lot of templates that even if you don't have any technical background or expertise, by dragging and dropping menu, as you saw, if you know the logic of interaction, for example, if you have a small local restaurant and you have certain nights you have different menu, so you as the manager, you exactly know what is being served and what customers can order. So you can customize that conversation based on the business needs that you have, not per se what something designed by default can actually be out there. So you can actually use this kind of technologies for small businesses. Especially, I would really suggest the Facebook Messenger. I've seen a lot of businesses do quite well with it.
Okay, thank you. Should chatbots disclose that they are a bot or pretend that they are a human being? Any research that supports one over another?
Yeah, there is a lot of research actually that talks about both ways. Back in the days, it was kind of like interesting to deceive people that thinking that they were interacting with a human agent, because we prefer the human touch in service industry. We want to feel like we are interacting with human. We have their time, their attention. We want to have the best answers, being best served. But over the time, especially with the new generation, they can figure out pretty quickly that the conversation is not really by a human, because there are certain limitations, as I mentioned, in terms of the language that humans use. Our language is very rich. We use adjectives, adverbs, and so we can actually kind of like fool the chatbot if we want to. So you can actually figure out pretty easy that you are interacting with a chatbot rather than a human agent. And from the research, if that is the case and you're not disclosing it, I mean, customers will kind of like anticipate themselves, but also they would not like the feeling that you are deceiving them. So it's a good idea to actually say, hey, I'm the chatbot of this business. My name is, and then you can just interact with them.
Okay, I see. There's another question. Any insights on the impact of chatbots on customer satisfaction?
Oh yeah, there is a lot of research. That field, customer satisfaction, it's pretty big. Customer engagement, customer involvement, interaction, like improvement of interaction, process satisfaction. I think that's like the main outcome or the output that businesses are focused on is customer satisfaction. And there is a lot of research that actually supports use of chatbots, especially the anthropomorphic ones, the human-like designs on chatbots, like that make people feel like they're interacting more with a friend or in a friendly manner or with a human rather than just a plain technology, no nuances in the conversation. Like you really feel like with a machine. So in that case, the social presence, the theory that I mentioned, and anthropomorphism really help with customer satisfaction beside the functionality. But there were also studies where the chatbot, as I said, there is no way the chatbot will not have an error. There is like chances to have not an accurate answer are there. So even in those cases, if you can actually use these human-like features, you can still mitigate some of the negative effects of the interaction that you have with a chatbot. At least the customer might not get frustrated or anxious. So in that case, you still can preserve some of the customer satisfaction component. So in terms of customer satisfaction, the humanizing of chatbot is quite important beside the performance. And also this plays a big role as well in another output, which is brand itself, like brand image, because chatbots are a representation of the brand.
Okay, thank you. There's another question. Would chatbots have a reverse effect in customer service, especially in handling complaints? I find that most of the time the chatbots couldn't solve the complaints or problems.
Yeah, that's one of the suggestion of the design is to actually have a policy or have a strategy how you actually will handle customer complaints. If chatbot is designed quite nice in terms of the logic, it will be actually a very good environment for customer complaint, especially if you can design an empathic chatbot, because chatbot will be much more emotional, accounting for emotion. The language will be much more like understanding. Even like mimicking some of the things back might make you feel like you are hurt. So in that sense, you will kind of like vent as a customer or release some of the angry emotions you have, and might be much easier when you are connected to a human agent. But the main strategy that is already used for accounting for service failure or like service recovery is actually providing right away the option of connecting to a human agent. Because if you don't do that, and customer try to still find the answer, and it's frustrated, getting more and more frustrated, it's much better, much worse. So in this case, if you provide them directly connection to the human agent, you at least have solved a part of the problem.
We have last questions. One more question. What do customers actually want from service-oriented chatbots? Any studies on what questions are asked the most frequently in services industries?
The part of not being deceived, disclosure, being able to provide the basic service that you can actually do in terms of the menus that the chatbot is providing. Customers already know that this kind of technologies, it's just a machine, so there is no way they would perform 100% accurate all the time. So they anticipate some sort of not correct answers time to time, but most of the time they don't like a repetition of the same answer over and over. They at least want to be acknowledged or heard. Their question is being heard, even though the chatbot cannot answer to it, they still get connected to a human agent. So the connection to human agent is key. They want that part too. They want, of course, like the features I mentioned, very fast responses, especially if it's like frequently asked questions, something that you don't want to read the website, you don't want to look at refund policies. You can type easily refund policy on the chatbot and you immediately get the answer. So you want that part as well. In terms of design, they want to, especially in service-oriented industry, they want that human touch, like high tech, but also high human touch, and mitigating for some of those human touch effects through anthropomorphizing, making the technology more human-like. That's what actually they expect, the social presence of this kind of technology into the conversation. As I said, from the theory of computers as social actors, we all kind of expect technology to, we have same expectation where we interact with human to human. So subconsciously, we import or project this kind of expectations in online environment. So in that regard, we expect this kind of technology to be more friendly, empathic, warm, funny, what you actually would kind of expect from a customer service beside the professionalism and being able to provide a right answer or an accurate answer, and if not, connected to a human agent.
Okay.
So I hope I could answer to the question.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you again, dear Jonilda, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. I would like to mention it one more time that I am so impressed by your presentation and your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the pleasure was mine to be there with you.
I also would like to thank to our audience. We have another great session on the growing cybersecurity threats to services and retail industries by Mr. Jack Brooks in actually 15 minutes or 10 minutes later approximately. Hope to see you at that session.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.